Leroy Sané, 1 point in a double game week. I mean, is that like some sort of wind-up, some sort of joke? I think that's the theme, isn't it, this season for a lot of people, myself included. So pretty hacked off about that. Onwards and upwards, plenty more football left to play. So let's see where that takes us. Loads to chat about in this week's preview. Thanks for tuning in. It's Jay Egersdorff here chatting about FPL, and it's the Game Week 26 preview that we're talking about today. So I'm going to review Game Week 25, chat to you about Game Week 26, some of the themes coming up there, what to do with Man City players, what to do with Eden Hazard, the form of Man United, the lack of form or the short-term blip for Liverpool, and then we're going to talk about some of the other players that are really catching my eye at the minute for some of the other form teams. So there's a whole load of stuff to chat about for Game Week 26. Usual things as well, FPL Donut, left field options and the captain options. So let's start last night, shall we? Game Week 25, Man City. Absolute hats off to anybody who had Aguero. What an absolutely brilliant move that was. Hats off to anyone who had Laporte. Again, another brilliant move. Who would have bet that he would have been the top scorer for Game Week 25, and certainly the top Man City scorer as well. Nobody really saw that one coming. City's run of defensive run hadn't been great, but he got an assist, he got a goal, and he got a clean sheet. So pretty good return. So let's start in that Man City nightmare. So if you're like me and you had Leroy Sané and you got your 1 point, I mean, commiserations, but I'm looking at it simple as this. For 3 weeks, I didn't have him, so that would have been 3 game weeks ago. He got 28 points over 3 weeks. And since I got him, so we had the Newcastle game that they lost. We had the Arsenal and the Everton games. He's got a total of 3. So I don't think we were confident or expecting that he'd get 28. I don't think we were expecting he'd get 3. I think probably most people were looking at somewhere in the middle. So that's a pretty bitter pill to swallow. So where I was at in Game Week 25, really funny one because I thought I'd really cracked it. So Sunday after the Man United game, I'd carried the transfer, so I'd hung back from going all in on City. I had Richarlison and I had Sané, of course, for the double game week. So I held my nerve and kept with Hazard. 2 goals for him, clean sheet for Alonso, goal for Ashley Barnes, an assist for Pogba and a goal for Rashford. I was feeling pretty damn good ahead of that Man City game. And then, of course, Aguero goes and gets a hat-trick. Sané doesn't play. Liverpool get that poor result at West Ham. And the rest, as they say, is history. So that's a down arrow for me. It's about 482k, 482,000, which is like way off where I need to be. But at the same time, there's lots of swings in FPL. We've seen it there, you know, halfway through a game week, and I was probably looking at a huge green arrow, but at the end, it's a big red arrow. Lots of football left to play, all the chips. I've got 2 transfers. Let's not panic. I think hopes of a top 10k finish are probably pretty unrealistic, but while there's football to play, you've still got to keep going, haven't you? So you never know. I think on the Aguero bit, I think this comes down to something more interesting. So I'm seeing a lot of debate of people going, well, I planned this, or people really kicking themselves with the Sané or maybe De Bruyne if you had him and captained him. Really kicking themselves. I think the reality for Pep is what we all know. You dance with the devil a little bit with Mr. Guardiola, so it either pays off handsomely or you can really get shot in the foot. There's no real way to plan for it. You can try and predict this guy, but we've seen it all season, and this was part of the reason I didn't go all in on Man City and get a couple more of the players. Is I just felt it was a bit mad to get rid of Hazard for that home game against Huddersfield. And that's really what it came down to for me. So I think the people with Aguero, the difference, and maybe there's some people who really did tinker with their team, but if you had Aubameyang, who I don't have, it was a pretty logical swap because Aubameyang was away to Man City. It was probable that Arsenal would score because City hadn't been great at home. Of course they did. So if you work that out, I think everyone was in agreement City were going to win that game. I think most people thought they needed to win because of the title race. So we're then looking at Aubameyang probably getting 1. So he's on a losing team. He scores 1 goal. He's probably at best going to get a goal and 2 bonus. It's unlikely he'd get the man of the match in a losing team for only getting 1 goal. So you're kind of looking at 8 points is the worst you could lose. But the all likely, there's a very good chance that he wouldn't score, and of course he didn't. So to switch to Aguero, who had a very good chance of playing, it was 50-50 with Jesus, but you'd probably lean a bit more on Aguero because of the fact it was such a big match and it was at home. The Everton game, you'd probably then think he wouldn't start, but Aguero owners were fortunate that he started that one as well. Unfortunate maybe he didn't score. I know he had that chance that went just wide. So that, to me, that is what FPL is all about. That is a really calculated risk. That's one worth taking because the positives outweigh the negatives. Whereas if you don't have Aubameyang or like myself and a lot of you guys, you had Hazard, to do that same move, let's walk it through, you would probably be you'd probably be having to get rid of Hazard for a budget midfielder and bump up one of your bargain forwards, so maybe Camera or somebody like that. Or you might even have to lose a Rashford or lose a Jimenez or someone, which again is a bit stupid. So you'd be looking at getting rid of Hazard at home to Huddersfield, probably taking a points hit, to then go Aguero, who may or may not play because of Jesus. So suddenly the positive and the negative is the negative is creeping in as a lot higher. So where this is an interesting debate is this now comes down to not just did I pick the right City player, but it's actually the composition and the structure of your team, and that's a whole other conversation. So for me, a few game weeks ago, I went I backed the midfield, so I went from a system which was 3-4-3, and I've been playing 3-5-2. When Kane got injured, I lumped all that money into the midfield because of that strategy. Didn't go for Aubameyang, went for Sané. And the rest is history. So, sometimes the moves that you make 2 or 3 weeks ago in good faith can actually hurt you down the line. But I think the final thing I'd say on it is that there's not really much you can do, is there? You can plan and you can kick yourself and you can look over all your decisions, but there's not much you can do. It is what it is, and you just need to take it on the chin and move on. And that's what I'm doing. But at the same time, it's still a massive thumbs up and well played to anyone who did have Alonso, Aguero or Laporte. So nice work. Okay, so we talked about team structure. Keeping on to City players then. This is a tough one. So if you now do have Aguero, the logical switch would be to switch back to Aubameyang. He's got Huddersfield away, a couple of home games. He's got a good fixture in game week 27 when Man City don't have a game. But at the same time, the guy's just got a hat-trick. He's playing Chelsea at home, must-win match. I think that's quite tricky. And frankly, I'll leave that one for you guys to figure out. I think if it was me, it's tough. I think the Champions League thing swings it. I've got to work out whether I keep Sané or whether I get shot of Hazard this week, because I've got to use one of these transfers and I need to do my homework on it. I'm going to look at Man City away in the Champions League and see how many Sané started and whether he was relied upon. Interesting that Mendy hasn't appeared. He was obviously a threat to Sané, but yet we've still seen Sané being rotated. So I think we need to wait for some team news and we need to wait for the press conferences. I know Guardiola doesn't always give loads away, but if you're looking at, forget the rotation, if you think who's going to actually win out of Man City and Chelsea, you've got to back City surely, haven't you, at home, that they're going to get a result. And Chelsea haven't been scoring tons. I know they got 5 against Huddersfield, but I think I'd be backing myself to get a goal against Huddersfield if I played up front. So yeah, that's my thought on that. Just back to the rotation stuff, the things I've not touched upon, and again, why I didn't go all in on that City. The golden goal rule of FPL is such a simple game. Do the players play? If the answer is yes, you're on to a winner. And then question 2 is, are they any good at, within the point metrics of actually scoring points? Do they assist? Do they clean sheet? Do they score? This is why Kane and Salah are so awesome at FPL. They're great players and they play. There's very little example of them getting rotated. Very, very rarely do they get rotated. So with City, like I said, you know, you dance with the devil a bit with those guys. So you need to think about that moving forward into other double game weeks, because it is can be a bit of a letdown when, you know, they play the first game and then they don't really have much of an impact in the second game. It's almost pointless to have them over some of the other form players. So there we are on that. Right, so we talked about Man City rotation, talked about Hazard. Man United, so they're flying at the minute, and one of the things that's really caught my eye is they've kept 3 consecutive clean sheets in away games. So not been keeping loads of clean sheets like under Mourinho a couple of years ago, but they've been certainly doing well in away matches. Small thought there, I thought, I wonder if there'll be Champions League impact there. They're playing Fulham away, you'd back them. I get the feeling Solskjaer's of a mindset of let's get the goals and the result sorted, and then we'll rest people rather than, you know, bring them off after an hour or something, rather than the other way around. I can't really see Pogba being rested, but I don't know if it impacts Rashford. It's food for thought, just something to think about. Again, it's quite hard to predict, isn't it? Liverpool, 2 bad results, and I think there's a couple of players that I watched that West Ham game, and I watched Leicester. 2 players that they really miss, and one is Wijnaldum, and the other player I think they're really missing is Trent Alexander-Arnold. When they shipped Klein out to Bournemouth in the window, I thought to myself, that is such a strange move. If I was going for the title and I had Alexander-Arnold and Klein is a really capable understudy, he's an international level player, I'd be saying, I'm really sorry, mate. I know you want to play every week and you're unable to here, but you're going to have to hang around, because if anything happens to Alexander-Arnold, we're looking at Milner, who, of course, is fine, but he's nowhere near the attacking capability of a proper orthodox right-back. And I do think that's really affected them. You could see their attacks. It was almost a bit of imbalance. Milner's not got the same thrust forward as Robertson on the other side. So I do think it'll be interesting when they get Alexander-Arnold back. Liverpool, of course, don't have any blanks, so, you know, that could be a good option for people. Some teams with nice fixtures. Talked about Son in the last video. He scored again. He looks really good. Aubameyang, I've touched upon. They've got great fixtures. I'm loving the look of Wolves at the minute. Matt Doherty, 2 goals and assist in the Cup the other night. Can't do it in the Premier League though, can you, Matt? So maybe you'll take that form to the Prem, who knows. So yeah, Wolves are really catching my eye. Everton, right, they're hopeless at the minute, aren't they? So if you're like me, you're stuck with Richarlison, and it's pretty frustrating because he's got this blank coming up, but there's probably bigger issues. I don't know if you guys are finding this in your team, that you want different players, and his price point means it's quite tricky because there's not loads of money you can take out by downgrading him, and it's tricky to go the other way because his value's in that real mid-range bit. You've got this Watford game. You get a feeling now that that's you want to say must win, but it's actually must not lose, isn't it, for Silva? He needs a positive result, even if it's a draw. He needs something. And then they've got the blank, and then they've got Cardiff. So fixtures are all right, but they're definitely not on a great run of form. And I think the fact he didn't play Wednesday would suggest he's going to play. So it might be one of those annoying ones where you just sadly have to keep on to him for a bit because you've got other stuff to play. Because that brings me around to my final point, which is I think if you can carry a free transfer this week, given that 27 there's some blank games, you're going to want to ship out. You're probably going to want to ship out your Chelsea guys, aren't you, or Man City, or whoever doesn't have a game. So there are my thoughts there. So it's game week 26. So I think there's only one player we can give the donut to, can't we? And that's poor old Mr. Sané, who's badly let us down. So sorry, Leroy, you are the FPL donut this week. And the left field options, right? So I've gone for 2 players that they don't blank in 27 and they don't blank in game week 31. So we're going to know more after this FA Cup game about who blanks there. So I've gone for Nathan Ake. And that's because I know Bournemouth's fixtures aren't great, but he looks really dangerous on set plays to me. He does chip in with goals, this guy. Could be a good differential. Remember the left field options. These aren't players that I'm saying go out and buy. These are players that I'm saying get them on your watch list. They could be a good differential, and they're really valuable at this part of the season. I pulled out Leicester's Damari Gray, and what's the other guy called? Is it Harley Barnes, the guy that was on loan at West Brom. From what I can see, he looks like an interesting option. Not sure if he's quite nailed on yet, so it's a bit of a wait and see. But their fixtures are great. They don't have those blank game weeks. They're playing game week 27, so he could be a good one. And they've also pulled out, he came on and got an assist the other day, Batshuayi, for Palace. So there's a chance that they'll blank in 31, because I think they need to win their FA Cup match, and that'll be a blank. But I think he's coming in at 6.5, and that could be good value, maybe if you need to ship out a player that doesn't have a game in 27, he could be an option for you. So they're my left field options. And then finally, captain. So it's a bit boring, isn't it? Salah at home to Bournemouth. Liverpool need to win. It looks pretty obvious you're going to go for Salah. If you don't go for him, you're probably going to go for Aubameyang away to Huddersfield. But there's one option I have seen that I think could be worth a shot. And this guy's on great form. I annoyingly don't have him. I can't really get him into my structure at the minute, just like what I was saying before about the team structure. That's Jimenez at Wolves. He's got Newcastle at home. You could be in a great position if Liverpool, Bournemouth are no pushovers. If Liverpool find it tough against Bournemouth and they're struggling for form, and then Huddersfield at home to Arsenal. Arsenal don't travel great. You could find yourself. I think Wolves is the Monday night game. I think you never know. A couple of goals. Wolves are playing great at the minute, scoring a lot. That could really fire you up the mini leagues. Bit risky, but the guy's on form, so could be an option for you. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you are a follower or a what's the word I'm looking for? Supporter is the word I'm looking for, of my FPL Masterclass Patreon site. A big thank you to you guys. I'm writing the content at the minute of how to win your mini leagues, or how to basically the run-in, how to handle it from February to May, how you should be looking at the mindset of actually getting to the top of your mini league. So there is some real strategy behind this that I've learned over the years. And a big shout out to you guys for tuning in every week. Thank you for your support. Thanks for watching. And let's hope for some better luck in game week 26. Cheers, everyone.